Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming for this joint presentation of two projects that are sponsoring this event and that might be of interest for you. Chuck Smith is now passing and giving out flyers information about the two of them. I'm Marek Blahuš, I'm the first speaker, and then he will be presenting his project Amikumu. But I'm here to present the sketch engine. I represent the company Lexical Computing from the Czech Republic, but the sketch engine is our main product. It's a tool where everything evolves around text corpora. I'm interested in knowing how many of you know what a text corpus is. Please raise your hands. Yeah, thank you. So I got half of you. I will say a text corpus is a large collection of structured texts that is useful for studying language in action. So there are often many billions of words in that collection, and then we have tools that can automatically process them and make out interesting statistics that are useful for observing a language. And you cannot get it just by thinking yourself how many words are there or what all the meanings are. You can observe it in real use in a corpus. And it's an online tool, so there is no need to download anything. You just access it on the web. Such a tool can be useful for linguists researching the language, for lexicographers creating dictionaries, for people collecting information about various languages, because we have many languages. It can be useful for terminologists and translators, interpreters, and also for marketing specialists, for people creating a new brand who want to explore how a word is being already used in a language, if it maybe has some bad meaning in a language they didn't know, not to make a mistake. In the sketch engine, we have more than 400 corpora available to the users in over 90 languages. And some of the largest corpora reach the size of tens of billions of words, 10 to the power of 10. Many of the corpora were built by our developers, by ourselves, but they are also corpora taken from external sources or created from data delivered by a customer. We have our own specific linguistic web crawler, a software that crawls the web, downloads web pages, and it has to know where to look for content in a specific language, how it looks like, how to distinguish it from similar languages. Then it has to clean all the spam and nonsense text that can be found on the web, and eventually deduplicate it. That means to remove things that repeat itself, so that the corpus is really actually representative of the language that we are trying to describe by that collection. We then have, for some languages, we have taggers and lemmatizers that are pieces of software that can tell for a word what part of speech it is, or even determine the other grammatical categories, and determine the lemma. For many languages, that's the basic form of the word, and then there are the declined or conjugated forms. So eventually, when you are using the corpus, you can query it also by searching for a lemma, not just for a particular word form. From the user's point of view, there are no technical skills required, so it just does everything automatically. But when we are building a new corpus for a new language, we obviously have to learn a lot about that language. So these are some of the languages, so actually that's the list of the languages that we have, but those in bold are the ones for which we have more than 1 billion of words in a corpus. Then the other ones, there are smaller ones, and the gray ones are languages that some of our users use, but we at the moment don't have any tools for. But we support those users who want to work with them in their own, for their own purposes, with help of our tool. The sketch engine can be found at sketchengine.eu. We've recently moved from .co.uk because of the UK leaving the EU, and then it's not really popular choice to stay there. But the company was based in Britain before, but now we are based in the Czech Republic. And we have created a new interface with mobile-friendly buttons and everything. So it's there's a fresh look, and you can try it yourself. I will put the information about accessing the software at the end. So this is a first preview or how it looks like as a word sketch. Word sketch is what gave the name to the sketch engine. That's a single page summary of the word's behavior in the language. So you can see, for instance, for the word account in English, what are the often modifiers of account. So there can be a bank account or a user account, Twitter account, and then the other column says what nouns can be modified by account. So there are account holders or account balance, and these lists are ordered by frequency, but not strictly by frequency only. It's better said by typicality. So in the right column, you see that the verbs linked with account are open and create, but there are many more things that you can create than open. So opening an account is a stronger collocate. It goes better together. It's a verb that is specifically used for accounts, and it's a better word, let's say, for an account than to create. So we have such measures that we take into account when we measure that. And that's everything done by a computer. So there was no human work involved. Just creating the corpus and then letting the computer calculate everything for every single word, such a profile. Then there is also a thesaurus that shows synonyms, but not only synonyms, also other close words that actually behave in a similar way. That's again a result of the analysis of the corpus. Such thesauruses and sketches can be useful again for dictionary makers, but also for language learners who want to enlarge their vocabulary, for search engines, and for databases of synonyms and collocations that are then used for various purposes. We can also generate word lists and engrams. Engrams are groups of words, and we calculate how often they appear in the corpus. We have millions of such items, and this is useful, for instance, for text prediction. You can imagine that you write one or two words, and the machine can suggest what you actually wanted to type and give you a hint. We can also use such word lists for spell checking or for suggesting headwords for a new dictionary. Actually, some of our largest customers are Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, Macmillan. They are using corpus linguistics to write dictionaries. So it's not anymore thinking everything up from the head, getting many linguists together. Now you start with a corpus and you observe the language in actual use. And we have already tools ready that can semi-automate the creation of a dictionary. So it even tries to find out the various meanings a word can have, again by looking at the context where it is used. Concordance is the basic search in a corpus. It works a little like in a Google search. You put a word and it's found, and you can see the examples in the corpus. But here, for instance, because we know the lemma, if you input go and viral, it also finds goes viral and went viral, because it knows something extra, some linguistic information about the words in the corpus. And you can see examples of actual use and see where that use comes from. We can even extract keywords and terminology from corpora. So when you give it a text about photography, it compares the frequencies of the words with a general corpus of the same language, and it can tell you what the specific terminology of the text is. So you can quickly get a vocabulary for photography by this way. That can be very useful, for instance, for interpreters who are getting ready for a conference and they finally got the presentation with 5 minutes advance, and they quickly need to revise the vocabulary and find the translations of the specific vocabulary of the subject. So they can upload the file into the application, and the sketch engine will tell them what those words are that they may not know or they may want to check, because those are specific words that are going to appear in the presentation. Can also be obviously useful for people who are dealing with terminology or with large databases of texts that you need to split by domain, by topics. So Sketch Engine can also help by dividing texts for various topics according to the words that appear in them and that are not a part of the general language. Then there is an addition to Sketch Engine, and it's like a demonstration of its features, and it's completely free. That's Sketch Engine for language lovers. That's a website that now supports English, German, Russian, Italian, and Czech, and it provides you again with similar words and synonyms, with simplified version of the word sketches, and also with good examples of the words. And unlike in Google, where you enter a word and you are given a list of websites that deal with the subject, in Skill in the sketch engine for language lovers, you get good examples of that word in an actual use. And by saying good examples, I mean examples that are useful for learning. So you won't get for the word book an example, there is a book on the table. Well, that doesn't say much about the word book and its behavior. But what you can get is, for instance, I'm reading a book about chemistry. That already says you that book, the most common thing to do with a book is to read it. And then you have another word, and you know more about what you have searched for. So it's free, and there is no registration, and you can try it yourself online. The access to the sketch engine is up to 2022, so you have almost 4 more years, currently free for anyone who is affiliated with an academic institution in the European Union, because there is now a project within which the access is paid for. So if you are a teacher or a student, you can either already use it or ask your university to connect with our systems and then use it for free. And you get access to all those 90 languages, all those 400 corpora. And you can also create your own corpora by uploading your texts. And you don't have to have the technical knowledge because it automatically applies all the tools that we have to the language that you submit and to the text that you submit. There's also the possibility to get a free 30-day trial where you have access to all the functionalities and at least 1 corpus per language. And obviously then if you are interested, you can get an individual or an institutional plan. It depends whether you are going to use it commercially or not. And there are many people who use the sketch engine for researching various languages. There are very small languages, and people use it to research the language that they themselves there's the field of study of themselves, because they might not be anyone else interested in that, but the tool helps them to process the data that they have on file, and they don't have to look up every single feature manually. The computer does it for them, and there is no need to install anything. So we add new languages and we add new data all the time. We are a company of about 15 people based in Brno in Czech Republic, and most of us are not polyglots. I may be an exception, that's why maybe I'm here. And I'm looking for people like you basically here because we might in the future want to add or extend support for the language that you speak, for your mother tongue or for some other language that you are passionate about. And usually we are able to learn something about the language and give the computer enough instructions so that it is able to find that language and distinguish it from others, even if we do not understand it. But in the end, we need somebody to check it, to evaluate the result. So at that moment, we might want to find your email address if you give it to me here, and then I can keep it and ask you for help in the future. And then you might get free access to that corpus that we create or some other way of remuneration. We are looking for people for some specific languages. Currently, what we need desperately are speakers of Persian and Arabic, and there are also still need for speakers of Japanese, Korean, and Chinese, if possible in Central Europe, because then it's easier to get together physically and see something. But if you are communicative and can help us online, then we are also interested in such contacts. So if you think you would like to see, I also have a list here of all those languages and how large corpora we have. So it might be useful for you if you want to look at your own language and you don't want to sign up at the moment. I can tell you what is there to offer. And if you think you would not mind being contacted by some of us in the future when we are improving your own language, then please come here after the presentation or when we are switching laptops or after the whole blog, and give me your email address so then I can contact you in the future. So this is it for the sketch engine, and now there are 10 minutes time for questions, either from the application. There are no from the application, so that would mean from the audience right now on the spot with the microphone. Thank you. Mr. Brock, ask. If there are no questions, then we can do the microphone maybe go down.
So, do you have some questions?
So, as you either improve or add to the dictionaries or improve the lematizer and the tagger, how can you go back then and update all of the data for all of your corpus, or is that somewhat problematic?
Yeah, thank you. That's definitely an issue, and sometimes we have different versions or different taggers, different lemmatizers. We have to use the best one. There is a pipeline that does everything from the beginning to the end, which is like the basic one, but you can always plug in something else. And if there is a new one, then we try to recompile all those corpora. So that's a process that can take a day or two, depending on the tools. Many of those tools come in various programming languages that we have to fit into our system, and it's not always functioning immediately, and it can take a lot of time, but those corpora that are publicly accessible for everyone, we try to keep them updated. When the user has already tagged or lemmatized their corpus, they would need to recompile it by manually clicking a button, but again, that's done automatically after that.
Thank you. I have one question. Is it possible for Scratch Engine to generate parallel corpora for specific content, the whole sentences or phrases, not just words?
Thank you. So parallel corpora, that means that you have two corpora in various languages, and you have to know which sentence links to which. So they have to be aligned. And the alignment is a process that is not being solved in the Sketch Engine itself, but there are tools that help you to do that, and we can do that for you, but it's easier if you can do it yourself. There are tools that you can download and that help you with that. But that would mean you already have sentences aligned. And then once they are aligned, it can guess, and it can create a bidict, that means a bidirectional dictionary that guesses what word is, or what group of words, as you wanted, is translated to what other group. But then you would need to have a large set of corpora. We have some corpora like from the European Parliament, but it's difficult to get large parallel corpora. But once you get them, and once they are aligned, then yes, you can extract terminology also from that in two languages. Is that what you wanted? Yeah. Thank you.
So anybody else?
So now will be the turn of Chuck Smith, and if you want, I also left some calendars there that try to teach you the corpus query language that enables all the functionality behind the Sketch Engine. But now it's Chuck Smith and Amikumu, his word. Chuck. Thank you. Marek. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Chuck Smith. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, United States, and I now live in Berlin, Germany. I was one of the co-founders of the Polyglot Gathering, and part of my inspiration for Amikumu is the fact that, well, wouldn't you love to be at a Polyglot event all year round? Well, okay, it's a bit expensive, and yeah, maybe you want to do something else too. But anyway, the inspiration of this is that you could be at a Polyglot event anywhere in the world instantaneously from your phone. So, and before I start with this, I want to say this is not just for Esperanto. I'm finding a lot of people here still have the impression it's only for Esperanto. It's for over 7,000 languages. Our mission, the mission of Amikumu, is to create and maintain a social network that provides speakers, signers, and users of all the world's languages with a platform to communicate and share relevant information locally, regardless of the social, political, and economic status of each language. And that's the only slide I'm going to read completely, because I don't want to bore you like that. But so that's basically our mission. You can get a feel. We want to promote lots of different languages, not just the typical French, Spanish, German that you always see everywhere. So the app we have, you pick a language, let's say French. Okay, I'm picking that example, but yeah. So you say French, and then you see the people nearby you who speak French. So maybe someone is 300 meters away. You say, do you want to meet for coffee, speak a bit of French? Or choose a more exotic language as well, like Welsh. You can say, where are Welsh speakers around me? You can also have multilingual profiles. So, and from my knowledge, this is the only social network which will let you have a profile in every language you speak. So you can choose to express yourself in each language differently, and even for sign languages. Like I have in my profile American Sign Language, and I just write in English. I learned sign language when I was a teenager, and I'm rusty, but I'd like to get back into it. So, and here you can also have another name. So for example, here Yana has a different name in Russian. Maybe you have a different name in Chinese. So the idea too is that when you're searching in other languages, you can be completely immersed in those languages if people also filled out their profile in every language. And through this, you can also get a feel of the language level of people through their profiles. And for each language, you can also see the language level. So you can see here in the example, Yana is native Russian, speaks high-level English and Esperanto, intermediate German, and beginning French and Tokipona, for example. We've had some endorsements. So Benny Lewis, fluent in 3 months. Some of you probably have heard of him. He loves to be able to use Amikumu because he never knows where he's going to wake up each day. And he wants to keep his languages from getting rusty. And Professor Gilad Zuckerman in Adelaide, Australia, it works in language revitalization, so reviving dead languages. So we also have every dead language that has the ISO standard code. So if people want to work on reviving languages, they can also meet other people who are also trying to revive those languages. Some awards we've won. Langfest gave us the Innovation Award last year. And that's the Polyglot event that takes place in North America, in Montreal. And the Welsh government gave us the App of the Week Award for our work in promoting Welsh. Bit of our member overview. This may actually be out of date because we're really close to 12,000 members right now. So I think if 7 of you sign up to Amikumu, we'll be at 12,000, and you'll make this slide a lie. Well, it's still 11,000 plus, but okay. Our members speak over 500 languages, and they're in over 135 countries. So you can see where our members are around the world here. In Europe. Some country stats, you may think, oh, this is a very European app, but actually our biggest country is the United States, second biggest is Brazil, and then yes, we have some big European countries, France, Germany, UK, and then China. So we're also in Asia. So basically wherever you're traveling around the world, whatever language you're interested in, you can download Amikumu and find people. You may not find people right next to you, but maybe there's someone 500 kilometers away, but maybe that's an interesting person to talk to. So, cities, our most popular city is Sao Paulo, followed by London, Berlin, Sydney, and Seoul. So again, our members are all over the world. Some language stats. You might notice that Esperanto seems proportionally high there. That's because we started in Esperanto. That was sort of our beginning community. And also probably our most fanatical community. They're using it all over the world to connect with other Esperanto speakers. Plus you can't really say, I'm going to the Esperanto land. So this was a way to find other speakers, but you have the same problems, say, in regions like France for the Occitan language, for example, because 25% of people in southern France speak Occitan, but they, at least in the regions that speak it, but you can't just look at someone and be like, oh, that's an Occitan speaker, as you just don't know, and so every conversation has to start in French. So the idea is that with this you could find people, say you're at a bazaar and oh, there's someone who speaks Occitan, I can go chat and have a conversation in Occitan, for example. So these are our biggest languages right now. So you might notice an outlier there, number 15, Tokipona. That's another planned language that just went like wildfire spreading in that, that community. Also Latin is quite big and Welsh as well. So we have different, we have over 20 language ambassadors to try to reach out to different language communities because we realize we can't learn 7,000 languages. We're trying, it takes a long time. So, well. If you're interested in helping with translating the system, we have community translated. So the app is currently, the interface is currently in over 40 languages. If you want it to be in more languages, You can go to CrowdN or contact me, and I'll help you get access to translate the app into more languages. Also, this is an amazing tool. If you're doing anything where you're working with the community speaking lots of languages, I highly recommend CrowdN for software translation, website translation, and so forth. It's a free well, the basic form is free. Once you get big enough, then you start paying monthly, but it's amazing the feature set and everything just to get everyone involved and with minimal hassle. One of our most recent features, which we launched last month, is called the Flow. It's a way to practice any languages anywhere. So the idea is that you'll find people nearby, say, for example, who speak German. Like you could say, I'm going to this German museum, or I'm just going to this museum. Does anyone want to just hang out with me in German there? And right now, because we just launched, we're showing a bigger region. Later, we'll reduce it to citywide so that you'll get people nearby. But, and if you have Android, yesterday we added comments. So you can also comment other people's Flow items. And that's coming now probably tomorrow to iOS. We're working out some final bugs on iOS that we're trying to get that for the people here at the gathering. So you can comment on each other's posts about the different lectures and everything here. So if you're interested in participating more at an organizational level, we have sponsored locations where you can say, like, I have this language cafe, or I have tours in multiple languages, for example. Then you can have a sponsored location in the app, and then when people look down and see people nearby for a certain language, they'll say, oh, that's a language school for Slovak in Berlin. That's interesting. So maybe I want to take lessons there. We also have white label for bigger organizations. We're currently working with a minority language in Italy to make a special version for them, for their language. And so we also will provide customized versions of the app, fully white labeled, all fully branded for your language, if that's something interesting for you. Download the app at amikumu.com. You can contact us at info@amikumu.com. Me specifically, Chuck, at amikumu.com. And one last thing. If you're already an Amikumu member, or even if you sign up today, we are offering 25% off of Gold membership. And Gold membership will get you these special features. You can teleport worldwide. Say, I'm traveling to Paris next week. I feel like speaking Dutch there. You can look for Dutch people in Paris. Your profile links on your profile will turn into actual links people can click. You won't receive advertisements, and you have better privacy. You can see other people nearby when you're invisible. So, thank you for listening to me. I hope you've downloaded the app while I was speaking. And we'll accept questions now. Yes?
How you approach people you find nearby on Amikumu?
So, when you are navigating a profile, we saw here the one from Yana. Yeah. Up in the upper right-hand corner is a message icon. Then you just hit the message icon. It works like, well, Tinder, for example. The app's not for dating, but the principle is very similar for finding new people. You just tap that, you start messaging, and then they say, oh, well, we could meet at this cafe, for example, or go to this park. That's how you can immediately find a language partner on the go. Or it also works well in airports, for example. So, there. Any more questions from the audience? Or? Yes.
I was just wondering about the 108 native Esperanto speakers. I was just wondering about the 108 native Esperanto speakers. Like, how are you native?
So there's around 1,000 to 2,000 native Esperanto speakers in the world. There are people who, for example, have learned it from their parents. They grew up with it. Typically, like most people would think it's because, say, someone meets internationally a Japanese and Polish person, for example, at a conference, and then they speak Esperanto at home then. But actually what tends to happen in those families is they would teach respectively Japanese and Polish to their kids. It's more like if you have, say, a German couple who met at an Esperanto event and they want to bring their kids up more linguistically rich, then say the father will speak Esperanto to the kid, the wife or the mother will speak German to the kid, and that's how there's Esperanto native speakers. And so a lot of them have also said, well, I also want to find more Esperanto speakers around me, why not? And they've also used the Amikumu app. We've been surprised actually, so many native Esperanto speakers have taken to the app. So, and actually if you go to YouTube, if you're interested in diving deeper into this, there's a video called Esperanto Like a Native, which has interviews with 6 native Esperanto speakers. And I highly recommend it. It's very interesting to get their point of view. So, thank you. Any more questions? Okay, so thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in Amikumu.